things. I wish you'd really do your research. ChatGPT does exist.
Just let
so
me
if you
teach.
really wanted to, if you don't know, listen to the teacher. I'm teaching you right now because this is a business you don't know. Do you know how confidently dumb you sound? You're saying it's bad that he went bankrupt 6 times. He's a billionaire and he's the president. You've been 15 years. You've missed the whole world. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're saying it confidently, and you're in an algorithm where people actually believe you. Out of response, and why you think they keep you here? They want y'all to make us dumb.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
A poor man prayers,
every man bleeds.
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. Yeah, I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again.
Under the Fair Use Act, these videos are for information and educational purposes, and I do not own the rights to any of these videos that are shown. All rights reserved to the original content creators.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy SL550, and this is the Never Gonna Lose Again podcast. Today, man, we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to go over this J6 pipe bomber that just recently got caught by the Trump administration, give some information and, outlook on basically the failures of the Biden administration, which we know was a total failure. But we're going to give some tap in with Jesse Waters going over that. Then we're going to go into Tucker Carlson had a guest on a while back. And with all this stuff going on with Minnesota and Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar, she went in a little bit of detail on Tim Walz and who he is and some interesting things. So we're going to tap in with Tucker Carlson on that. And then I want to go into Obama recently was at a museum he had a sit down speech type thing, and I wanted to play. It was like an hour long. He went on and on. If you want to check it out, you can go check it out separately from this video, but I wanted to play the specific part to go into when Mike Benz was on Joe Rogan exposing something that I said a couple videos ago that I knew it happened, but I wasn't totally informed on the details. But Mike Benz is, and he's going to go into what Obama did, which kind of created the atmosphere today. No, not kind of, but did create the atmosphere with the media today. And then I want to go into how the media just blatantly lies, bro. They just lied, bro. And Obama is the architect of this, and we'll get into that. We're gonna tap in with Black Conservative 24, and he had put a whole video with a montage together. So we're gonna get into that. Then we're gonna end the show because everybody, one of the number one things that everybody says is that Trump is a racist, right? Trump is a racist. So I gotta it was this guy, I chopped it up, but this guy put his video together. But I just want to show, the difference on how the media constantly, lies on Trump so much and, tries to make him out to be this racist when he said, so many different times that he totally condemns it and he doesn't want nothing to do with hate, period, let alone, the KKK and all of that. But he put bits together with Joe Biden also because for some reason, I don't know why, people don't remember things that Biden has said in the past and things that he's done like the 94 crime bill, which directly affected black people. But we're going to go into times that Joe Biden said racist things. But for some reason, a lot of us black folks out here love Joe Biden. Is it just because he's a Democrat, or is it because you really believed in Joe Biden? I think it's the fact that he was just a Democrat, to be honest with you. And this is why I will consistently say that most of the people on the left are brainwashed, and then you got a lot who are just, baby boomers who live in a, JFK, post-JFK era, in which they feel as though that Democrats did so much for black people. If you want to check out, I did a video a while ago, like one of my early videos on the KKK, the Democratic Party, how they were colluding and so much, man. The Democratic Party isn't what people think. But anyway, man, before we start, man, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit that notification bell so you get notified every time your boy go live. Matter of fact, you might as well just go ahead and hit that like button for me right now and that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Let's get into this J6 pipe bomber guy that they caught and see what Jesse Wood is talking about.
Fox News alert, the January 6th pipe bomb suspect just made his first court appearance. Sources tell Fox he'd been talking to investigators before the hearing and admitted to planning the bombs. He appeared in court unshackled, dressed in a tan jumpsuit. His family was cheering him on. "We love you, Brian. We're here for you, baby." Cole lived with his mom at her house in Virginia, just 20 miles from Washington. Neighbors knew him as the guy that walked his Chihuahua. Apparently, he'd wear shorts all year round, even in the dead of winter. His grandmother calls him very naive and almost autistic-like, saying he wouldn't hurt a fly. But the FBI says otherwise. Apparently, all evidence points to Cole. Cole's cell phone pinged in the area around the RNC and DNC on January 5th, 2021. And his red Toyota was placed a half a mile from the bombs. So they triangulated his cell phone, pulled some credit card statements, and ran his plates. That's Detective 101 work. Joe Biden's FBI had 4 years to figure that out. And Chris Wray told Bret Baier how hard they tried.
I have enormous confidence in the team, the dedicated team that is focused exclusively on that investigation. And we have devoted loads and loads of effort into that specific investigation. And those folks, those FBI agents, analysts, and professional staff, I have total confidence in them.
Biden's FBI made excuse after excuse.
In prior COVID times, in any neighborhood, I think, in the country, if you saw an individual hooded, masked, glasses, gloves on, it would have been a red flag for any individual walking around that day. In this case, it wasn't, because of the environment that we're living in during COVID times.
The feds traveled across the country to catch every grandmother who walked through the Capitol on January 6th, but couldn't find someone in Virginia. One of the lead investigators in Biden's FBI said they couldn't track his phone because the service provider gave them corrupt data. But if the cell data was corrupt, how'd Trump's FBI use it to catch the guy? So 5,000 agents, 4 years, and no one investigated the guy with the bombs.
None of this stuff is coincidence. And this is why now that this information is coming out, we only going to do a short segment on this, but now that this has come out, you have everybody, talking about how he's a MAGA guy and going into these theories instead of just saying that, listen, for whatever reason, they didn't want to catch this guy. And now the Trump administration really looked into the information that they had on him and caught the guy. And now they want to try to make it seem like this guy was a MAGA guy. Just like this is what they do, bro. The media is crazy, bro.
But Trump's team cracked it in less than a year. Bondi said all it took was some elbow grease.
Let me be clear. There was no new tip. There was no new witness. Just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work, working as a team along with ATF, Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, and of course, the FBI.
Not only did the Biden FBI botch the case, it doesn't even really look like they investigated it. Remember, Wray dragged his feet before releasing the video.
Will you commit to releasing the full tapes to the public immediately?
No, sir, I can't make that commitment.
Congress needs to subpoena Chris Wray and make him testify under oath immediately
snakes,
about what did and didn't happen. But for Democrats, obviously it's all Trump's fault.
Looking at this crowd doing a victory lap when all the senior FBI officials across all key divisions have been fired for political purposes. It's a little rich that they're saying they're American safer. How much earlier could we have caught this guy if resources hadn't been diverted?
If resources hadn't been diverted to locking up 80-year-old women.
January 6th, he's talking about people that Trump fired in this administration, right? January 6th happened in 2021. Happened in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2021. It happened in 2021, and they want to make it seem like because Trump fired people that's why the job didn't get done. No, it's because these people are super corrupt and they want to continue to, cover up for these people, man. Ruadri says, what the heck? Hold on. When I seen he was on the phone, it should have been extremely easy to find him. They didn't want to because they was using the pipe bomb narrative. Facts. They didn't listen, bro. One thing for sure, when it comes to these type of situations, we're talking about the best of the best. This is the best of the best. It's only when they're trying to cover up these events or when they want to, try to shift the narrative. And this is why I want to get into this whole propaganda narrative and how, Obama basically gave free rein to push propaganda. And this is what they do on a daily basis now. I'm talking about blatant lies and listen, bro, I'm going to show a bunch of them. Just blatant lies. Then they gotta come out, retract. And it's like, come on, bro. That stuff should be the Smith-Mundt Act was meant to basically push propaganda abroad, foreign countries, whatever. But here in America, we're not going to do that. And then Obama repealed that. So we'll get into that, though.
Women who knit sweaters for a living. Yeah, Biden could have caught this guy earlier. It kind of feels like the media is still working with Biden officials on the case. Because first Jake Tapper says the bomber's white, and now he's MAGA.
This suspect has essentially confessed to planting the bombs, and he's told FBI agents that he is a supporter of Donald Trump.
You can't trust Agent Delanian. He was the deep state's go-to guy on the Russia hoax and the Hunter Biden laptop. In fact, you can't believe anything the media says about this case. They said the feds wouldn't catch him because he was Caucasian.
When you consider how black criminals and Muslim terrorists are treated, both by the legal system and by the media, and yet the January 6th pipe bomber who laid explosives in front of the RNC and DNC headquarters still walks free, we still don't take domestic terrorism of the far-right white variety seriously in this country, do we?
Pretty sure this guy's black. And now they're saying Cole was trying to stop the steal.
In part, we are told that he had accepted the political view of the time in 2020 that the 2020 election had been stolen. That's a view that President Trump has falsely pushed for a number of years.
Okay, the guy began building the bombs in 2019. He bought most of the supplies before the election was stolen. We don't know if this guy was righty, lefty, upside downy, but Judge Jeanine Pirro says he was disappointed in various aspects of the election, but it's not clear whether he supported Trump or Biden. This guy was an equal opportunity bomber, planting bombs at both the RNC and the DNC. And this is interesting. His father retained Ben Crump, otherwise known as Al Sharpton 2.0, when he filed a racial discrimination lawsuit. The dad ran a bail bonds company for illegals and sued the Trump administration, claiming DHS was screwing him out of money.
Anybody that retains Ben Crump is a Democrat, bro.
Money. Now, that lawyer is repping his son, and he doesn't even practice criminal law.
I ain't even surprised.
Which is probably why the kid confessed. Great lawyer. Something tells me this guy's a little. His grandma called him autistic. He wears shorts in the dead of winter, works part-time for his dad. The bombs didn't even work, and he kept his cell phone on him.
Remember I told you, Ben Crump, and they only hop out when it's a black person, and it's a big story. It's something that they can put their face out there and be seen. That's all they care about, bro. Them people don't care about black folks. They don't care about really helping black folks. All they care about is being able to make some money, get a big payday, and get on TV. That's it. That's why they only take national cases that's nationally known, period.
The whole night. And not only that, he bought all the bomb parts on a credit card. He even waved to a cop car the night he planted the bombs. Sounds like the dumbest bomber in America. And Biden's FBI couldn't even catch him. The whole thing stinks. This was a huge case that went unsolved for years. Kamala Harris could have been killed before she was even sworn in. A black guy almost killed the first black vice president outside of the Democrat National Committee. And the case collected dust? And why wasn't Kamala Harris knocking heads together at the bureau?
Roger said, he said a Trump supporter putting one at the RNC, come on, man. And he said in Biden's voice, 100% ain't no Republican playing with Ben, nor do I think Ben would for a Republican. Now, that's a fact. We know he don't. I mean, every time you see him, it's when you have some type of, they always got to be black. And it's a story they're able to use. You know what I mean? Yo, I told people to check out they had this who was that? Who was the one? Oh, Trayvon Martin. A guy did a whole thing on Trayvon Martin. I'm talking about deep dive into this story, interview people, and the so-called girlfriend that they put on a stand to lie wasn't even Trayvon's girlfriend. It was the stepsister that was the girlfriend. But I guess the stepsister didn't want to come forward or cooperate, so they used the stepsister instead. But and the dude, Ben Crump, was involved, getting her to lie. He's a crook, bro. These people are crooks. They don't care. All they care about is a payday, being seen on national television. That's it.
Hey, guys, you ever find the guy that tried to bomb me to bits? Thanks to Trump's FBI, we finally have something. But the fact that it took so long makes me really wonder about who the heck this guy is. We still don't even know if he acted alone.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-host.
Yeah, that's the segment on this J6 guy, man. We're going to move on. But they got to, you just don't even know with these people, bro. and then when it comes to Trump, period, bro, so much negative press, never say nothing good about this dude. He's a Nazi. So much rhetoric. And, come on. Seeing what happened when Trump got shot at, right, that they all said was staged. That happening and them attempts happening, it's not surprising. Because I told you, and I'll tell you again, these people are willing to do any and everything. Nothing is off the table with these people. Because they know Trump isn't a puppet. Trump isn't going with the narrative. And that's what they hate about Trump the most, is that he didn't come into government and become president to play ball. This dude didn't like Obama. Obama embarrassed him at one of them, dinners. And he took this shit serious. And then on top of that, Trump, listen, Trump is a businessman, but he's been close to politicians and these people pretty much all his life. You know what I mean? Gave money to them and all that. But Trump ain't stupid, bro. But like I said, I believe Trump genuinely wants to make America great again. You know what I mean? I really believe it. Anyway, let's get into this next story with Liz Collins and Tucker Carlson. She goes in specifically, if you want to check out the whole entire video, they talked about many topics, but I wanted to play this specific segment on Tim Walz because she said a little more details that I ain't even know about.
Amazing. So who is Tim Walz exactly? Most of us I just want to say I think he's like should be investigated by the sex crimes unit. I really feel that way. I'm not asking you to comment on that, but he's one of the creepiest people I've ever seen. The vibe I get off that guy, I would not let him in my house. That's just my feeling. Maybe I'm being totally unfair, in which case I apologize. But you have the facts. I don't. Who is this guy?
Yeah, I think so much of this has happened on the watch of Governor Walz. Again, I'm talking about, I've lived in Minnesota for most of my life at this point as a reporter there for 20 years. I have just never, born, raised, spent a little time outside of the state and been back for 20 years now. But I've just never seen, this kind of, I don't even know if you can call it leadership. I'm not exactly sure. Manipulation by a leader. Again, we've talked about this capital of chaos. This has all been under his watch. But we've done so much reporting over at Alpha News with the truth of this guy. It was interesting to see others finally report about him because the local media will not when he was picked as the VP candidate for Kamala Harris. But it started sort of with picking up on just these little lies he would tell. And these are things that we would report on. He did not, he never was a command sergeant major, despite the fact him, saying that he was. He never attained this rank in the military. Instead, he abandoned his troops and they were deployed to Iraq without him, and he ran for Congress. So I've always felt as a reporter, if someone lies about little things, they're lying about big things. I think that's just,
that's a fact, that's a principle that stands the test of time.
And you kind of would just see this with little things that he would say that was just not reality. But Minnesota has become, the home of this defund the police movement. It was on the ballot. Minneapolis did not vote to defund the police, but I would say in every way, shape, or form, they defunded the police. You have the Minneapolis Police Department that's lost about 40% of their cops since George Floyd. But instead of being
Minneapolis lost 40% of its cops in 5 years?
Nearly half, yeah. And I actually think we're just now getting to the point of, you thought there were problems with the police 5 years ago? Just wait until you see some of these people that are coming up on the job.
Who's going to be a cop now?
Exactly. It's pretty horrifying. And I don't blame any of these people for leaving. You get
but
to
they're
go
just hiring criminals. It'll just be a criminal gang.
Yeah,
that's happened before.
So under Walz, we have the riots. We have these lies just about things with his background that I think really deserve more attention, more investigating. These ties to China, which I think are troubling.
What ties does he have to China?
Well, we know himself. He said that he's made more than 30 trips to China.
Damn. Yeah, they're going to cut me off. Damn, man. We're going to have to skip this one. I don't want them to cut me off. We're going to have to skip this. My bad, but I posted in the joint. I can go check it out. But I got to figure out how to, man, if anybody does YouTube, man, and you know how to clip these videos to be able to use. I see certain people use them, but they got bigger channels. So I'm assuming they probably got permission to use it because, it probably benefits them. But that should be more. Damn. That was a good joint, too. Anyway, let's get into this. So Obama was at the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Arts, and he sat down Olivia Walton and, went into all of these different things. But I specifically wanted to highlight him talking about the media, right? And his depiction of it. So let's get into this.
So, yeah.
What's your news diet?
My news diet. You know what I don't have is a news feed. In fact, the entire time, people used to ask, you seem so calm, Mr. President. Why is that? No drama, Obama. I said, that's because I don't watch the news.
Even he don't watch it.
It is genuinely true. I have not watched cable news in 15 years.
They always trying to get me.
And I don't scroll. I'm old school and I read a pretty wide mix of publications. I'll read Wall Street Journal, I'll read New York Times, I'll read The Atlantic or science magazines. That's where I get my information from.
Is there
facts? 40% is crazy. You can only imagine what's going on out there. But that's what they want, bro. They don't want the policing and keeping law and order. They want to make everything about racial issues, and that's like one of the main things that just is pushed so much, just all the time. Race, and most of it is garbage for the most part, and provoked really. But
one outlet out there that you would consider the least bias? Sort of the most straight news?
Negative.
Here's the thing. I actually think that the mainstream news still does a very good job of just presenting facts. I think cable, regardless of the cable station, has fallen prey to the same economic imperatives that we're seeing in every other type of news, which is you are deliberately controversial, deliberately aggressive, deliberately trying to make people feel angry and aggrieved because that attracts attention. Now I'm talking about broadcast.
Yeah.
With respect to print media, I think actually there are a lot of good sources. It's trying to sort through the garbage that makes it difficult because there's so much noise out there.
I got you out of the lightning round mode. Best and worst parts about living in the White House?
Best parts, Truman.
All right, so if y'all want to check that out and check his whole speech out, because, Obama, bro, it's sad, to be honest. Just like because so many people look for Obama. I wanted to play that because he didn't specifically say anything negative about any specific news stations, but he tried to, still bolster up the media, knowing that the media is losing the following. Nobody's really going to the media as a source for their news. They're going to YouTube, they're going to other outlets like Ground News and things like that. And they got great reason to do that, though, And one of the major things that Obama did, like I said, was repeal the Smith-Mundt Act, which allowed him. But I'm going to let Mike Benz give more detail on this because it's important to get into the next segment.
Are you familiar with the Smith-Mundt Act?
Is that the 2011, 2012 thing where Obama allowed people to use propaganda against United States citizens?
Yeah, that was what was done then under Obama was the effective repeal of it. It was called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. But the modernization got rid of the whole purpose of it, the firewall, because at the time the media and media control was seen as the linchpin crux of winning the Cold War, piping in pro-U.S. Media influence because everything moved after World War II from kinetic warfare and military occupation. We used to militarily occupy the Philippines, for example, after we won the Spanish-American War, but that was banned under international law, territorial acquisition by military force in 1948. So we had to win elections, and we had to influence the passage of laws in foreign countries by having an apparatus inside those countries that influenced the hearts and minds of people, which influenced who they voted for, which then determined the government. So you had to move towards political vassalage rather than military occupation. And what the Smith-Mundt Act did is, simultaneous with the creation of this in 1948, Congress recognized the Frankensteinian monster they were creating by authorizing a covert, permanent Department of Dirty Tricks, and this is their phrase, not mine, to do this cloak and dagger, to to infiltrate and co-opt the universities, the unions, the media, the politicians, the judges, the whole swarm army. You know, what I have been calling for a long time the USAID Truman Show, because it's, you know, these people in these foreign countries have no idea, you know, how many of the things they interact with that are effectively a movie set being constructed by the U.S. State Department and its sister influence orgs. But the point that I'm getting at here is the Smith-Mundt Act in 1948 said, okay, you guys can do this. State Department can do this. CIA can do this. USAID, when it came along 13 years later, could do this. But so there was a guy named Frank Wisner who was known as one of the godfather figures of the CIA. He's known for creating what was called the Wisner's Wurlitzer, which was it's like a church organ, and that he would brag that he could play the international media like a symphony to make any media narrative go viral in any country on earth because of the suite of CIA proprietary media functions and its distribution network, especially when the U.S. had first mover advantage in radio and print. It's basically the U.S. and U.K. were the only games in town, really, in having robust radio, film, TV, and print media. So the Smith-Mundt said, okay, you can do that abroad. You can plant fake news stories in France. You can, have propaganda blare into Africa or Western Europe or Central Asia, but that can't come home. You can't psyop our own people with your propaganda organ abroad, because the whole point of authorizing this is that we get cheaper gas, we get import-export markets, we get a high standard of living, because if a foreign government doesn't want to give up its resources or allow a U.S. military base or allow joint partnerships or exports of goods or U.S. multinational corporations to operate there, then the American people suffer economically. So it was always designed to say, listen, you can do this dirty stuff abroad, but it can't come home. We have and even that protection, which lasted for 70 years, and we only lost it a decade ago. We're up against a much actually deeper, darker problem with this USAID scandal, and as people will see increasingly, the scandals that will break open at the Pentagon and the State Department, which is that we have a Smith-Mundt problem for funding and operations. It's not just propaganda. The blob, our foreign policy establishment, can fund groups that effectively work with prosecutors domestically, or that work at media, dual use. We give them foreign grants to do media propaganda abroad, but they operate here. Or social media censorship, to coerce foreign countries to pass foreign censorship laws that explicitly and are intended to attack U.S. social media companies and in U.S. peer-to-peer speech. So we need that protection. If we're going to keep this function at all, we need a hard firewall and absolute grotesque penalties for any violation.
Yeah, so he broke that down in major detail on just how this thing operates, right? And so now I want to play this video. I'm going to let it rock out, and I'm going to interject here and there to talk about certain things. But just how much these people just lie, and they don't care, because, like I said, it's all about perception. And the perception they want to put out there is that Trump is a bad guy, Trump is a Nazi, a white supremacist, all of these different things that they know aren't true, but you don't know that. And as long as, because you figure out of all the media outlets, you might have Fox, who is more, balanced media. I'm not going to say they're 100% perfect, but they report more accurately about Trump. Then you got everyone else besides maybe Sky News that I see, Newsmax. It's a few of them. But all the major outlets besides Fox report probably 96, 97% negative on Trump. So you can't really take every single thing they say. And like, who said that? Liz Collins? When he was talking about how, like, once you tell little lies, then you're going to tell the big lies. And this is what they do. So I can't believe the news. And this is why Obama doesn't watch the news, because he knows that it's garbage. He knows. Anyway, let's get into this next clip.
The President and First Lady of the United States will take their first dance.
The tone was set on President Trump's first official day in office. CNN claimed Nancy Sinatra was not happy about her father Frank Sinatra's song My Way being used at Trump's inauguration.
I did it my way.
Nancy Sinatra responded on Twitter, "That's not true. I never said that. Why do you lie, CNN? Actually, I'm wishing him the best." Meantime, Time incorrectly reported that President Trump had removed the bust statue of Martin Luther King Jr. from the Oval Office. That false news went viral. In February 2017, TMZ reported Trump had changed the name Black History Month to African American History Month, implying the change was racist. In fact, it turns out Presidents Obama, George W. Bush, and Clinton all called Black History Month African American History Month. Also, the Washington Post reported on the cabinet battle over Trump's immigration order. The article was repeatedly updated to note that one of the reported meetings did not actually occur, a conference call did not happen as described in the article, and actions attributed to Trump were actually carried out by his chief of staff. And the New York Times reported on supposed contacts between Trump campaign staff and senior Russian intelligence officials. FBI Director James Comey later testified it was not true.
That report by the New York Times was not true. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, in the main, it was not true.
In May, the BBC and The Guardian reported because Trump wasn't wearing headsets, he didn't bother to listen to the translation of a speech by Italy's prime minister. But Trump was wearing his earpiece in his right ear, as always, said the White House. In June 2017, NBC News reported that Russian President Putin said he had compromising information about Trump. Actually, Putin said the opposite.
Do you have something damaging on our president?
Well, this is just another load of nonsense. Where would we get this information from?
CNN and ABC falsely reported that FBI Director Comey was going to refute Donald Trump's claim that Comey told Trump 3 times he wasn't under investigation. Instead, Comey confirmed Trump's claim under oath.
It appears that you actually volunteered that assurance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Newsweek reported Poland's First Lady refused to shake Trump's hand, but later acknowledged she did. CNN edited a video to make it appear as though Trump impatiently dumped a box of fish food into the water in Japan. The full video showed Trump had simply followed the lead of Japan's prime minister. Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal falsely reported special counsel
You see what I'm saying, bro? You see how they just, man, it could be dumb shit. It could be dumb news stories that's just dumb. It's like, why are you even lying about this? But they don't care. It's all about making Trump out to be this bad guy, bro. You know what I mean? This is the stuff that made me look into this, into Trump and these stories that, they was coming out about Trump. And then you realize that most of these things that they say about him is just lies. So it's like, why am I going to believe you? Why am I going to vote for Kamala Harris, who I look at, and even if I take Trump out of it, I wouldn't vote for her. I just wouldn't vote at all because she's a moron. But they want you to believe that Donald Trump is this bad guy. He's so bad. He's a racist. He's this. He's that. And the funny part is, most people that even follow up with any of these talking points, they can't even articulate anything. You're like, oh, Trump is racist. How is Trump racist? I've asked probably, I'm not going to exaggerate, maybe 5 people this question before, and every single time, they all brung up the Central Park 5 and Trump's father Trump and his dad not renting to black people. That's the only thing they got. They got to go all the way back to the 80s and the 70s to try to make Trump look racist.
Robert Mueller had subpoenaed Trump's bank records. AP reported a new survey showed trust in the media had fallen during the Trump presidency, but the survey was actually conducted under President Obama. The New York Times said a hypothetical family's tax bill would rise nearly $4,000 under Trump's tax plan. It turns out their taxes would actually go down $43. The New York Times and CNN shared a story with photos of immigrant children in cages. It turns out the photos were from 2014, during the Obama administration. In December 2018, NBC reported Trump was the first president since 2002 not to visit the troops at Christmas time, but Trump actually left the White House on Christmas to visit troops in Iraq. ABC aired video purportedly showing a slaughter and horrific report of atrocities against Kurds by Turkey after President Trump withdrew U.S. troops.
This video right here appearing to show Turkey's military bombing Kurd civilians in a Syrian border town.
But the video was file tape of a training video in the U.S. In November 2019, Newsweek falsely reported that President Trump was spending Thanksgiving golfing in Florida. He was actually in Afghanistan serving dinner to U.S. troops. Good morning. CBS aired a story in March of 2020 supposedly showing a New York hospital crowded with coronavirus patients.
It's all hands on deck in America's hospitals.
It was actually file tape from Italy. A week later, CBS News mistakenly used the Italy video again.
You really cannot make this up. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. I'm going to leave you with this article from The Hill. The media just can't stop lying about Donald Trump. And it's true. They are lying about this man for a living, bro. God bless you. Catch you on the next one. Trump 2024, man.
It's a fact, though, bro. They just can't help it, bro. They cannot help it. They just gotta lie on this man. And that's why, and that's not solely why I voted for Trump. I voted for Trump because I liked his policies. I followed his campaign, and he was consistent. And then I look back in his last term and just seen like things that he said during the first campaign. I was locked up for that. But I was watching a lot of it, and then I seen that he did a lot of things that he said he was going to do, and he dealt with all the roadblocks and all the different things. But even worse, because he wasn't a politician and he wasn't really in politics, so he didn't really know who was who. Versus now, where he got a lot of people that he can trust more on his team, and the only people really trying to stop him from his agenda is Democrats and the leftist media. But my thing is this: if that doesn't prove, like that was just a few clips of many times they lied, small lies, even bigger and big lies, but just crazy stuff, bro. Like, the problem is that people watch the news, they see these things and they look at it. And that was the reason why. I know people like, yo, why did you play Dame Dash in the beginning with Charlemagne? I played that not because I wanted to play that clip, because I tried to play it before we had problems. But I cut it up, and I used it because during that clip, Dame Dash told Charlemagne, like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then you get on here and you put out, this information like it's the truth, and then it's on an algorithm, and you're lying. Basically, it's basically like the gist of what he's saying. You know what I mean? Like and that's how the media is. They got a following. People listen. People lock in. Take this stuff as the gospel, and they just be lying. And that's why people out here, when you have conversations with people that might be a Democrat or whatnot, they Trump is a racist. He's a Nazi. He's this. It's all talking points that they heard on, and they know this though. That's the thing. They know these things. Like I told you, bro, these people are highly skilled, highly intelligent. They understand human behavior, how, majority of people will react to, a story or whatever the case may be. And even Obama said it too, during that little clip I played, where there's, how, the media is meant to provoke you and things like that. So they know what they're doing. But my thing is, I believe in the United States, for sure, national media should not be allowed to just blatantly lie, bro. I don't care if it's a small, dumb lie. No, they shouldn't be able to lie, bro. They should have to tell the truth because, for instance, it could be something. Matter of fact, like they talked about how the tariffs was going to cause a recession and Wall Street was going to crash and all of this stuff, and it did the opposite. It did the opposite. I mean, like we're not in a recession, and Wall Street actually did good. I mean, so the market actually did good multiple times. But hey, if you got trust in the media, it's just, for me, I watch it. A lot of it is entertainment, but I follow it. I get my little stories here and there, but mainly it's entertainment, bro. To be honest with you, and more than all of that is propaganda, and that's what that's their main goal, is to push propaganda. And Obama was the architect of this. You know what I mean? It went from being against the law to do that in America to them being able to just flat out lie on a regular basis in America's media. But let's get into this last segment. I want to, so this is, I chopped this up, but this was put together by a comedian, but I chopped it up and took a lot of the talking portion out of it. But it's like a 10-minute video from this Persian comedian guy. I'm trying to get his name. I like to shout people out. But I ran across this joint and it was a good video. Where the heck is it at? Oh. His name is Kayvon on YouTube. Kayvon Comedy. K-V-O-N Comedy. But anyway, let's get into this last clip.
The taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. People that were very fine people on both sides. And I'm not.
So it's about the narrative that Trump is a racist. Because that's one of the big narratives about Trump, is that Trump is a racist. And this is how the media paints Donald Trump. And it's crazy because should I play that? Because it was another joint I seen a guy had. He was talking about the bias narrative, but it's all good. We know the media is biased. That's a given. We know the media is super biased. They report a lot of negative on Republicans and really not that much on Democrats. They mainly run cover for Democrats, to be honest. But anyway, this segment right here is basically about Joe Biden versus Trump as far as racism goes.
Talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists. Okay?
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared
willing to do
specific?
that. All right.
What are your views on the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacists?
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke.
Right? I mean, you got the...
Like, the crazy part about that is the fact that I've seen clips where he said this so many times, bro. I'm talking about massive amounts of times, more than a handful of times. I'm talking about dozens of times they asked him about this whole condemning white supremacy, and every single time he said, I could totally condemn it. I'm talking about on radio shows, on television. He done said, I've been asked these questions so many times, I've condemned it, and it don't matter how many times he say it. It's like as if they're just waiting for that moment where, I don't know. He says that, he loves white supremacists or something.
First sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
What the f***? Though we still have great comedy out there. There's always rambling Joe Biden. What the f***?
Robin Williams is the man. We definitely need comedians to shed light when others won't. That's what makes America great.
David Duke announced his Senate candidacy.
Are you ready before you ask the question?
Newt Gingrich.
Because he knows he's about to ask him this question. He knows it's the same lame questions over and over and over. He said because he already knows what he's going to ask him.
Said,
rebuked. Is that okay? Rebuked.
Done.
He's run for president twice before, unsuccessfully. He's never before been the front runner.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. It don't have nothing to do with Trump.
Okay,
How do you feel about the recent endorsement?
That ain't racist. He just told Charlamagne, you ain't black if you got a problem figuring out who you should vote for. That's crazy.
From David Duke.
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow. Okay?
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
Joe says shit that even people with Tourette's go, no. No.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I disavowed David Duke, and I disavowed him the day before at a major news conference, which is surprising because he was at the major news conference. CNN was at the major news conference, and they heard me very easily disavow David Duke.
Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Bro. Yo, bro. Yo. Bro, have you ever heard Donald Trump say anything like that, bro? He said they're going to put y'all back in chains. Come on. And you can't spin that. You can't spin that no way. Oh, I was talking about being arrested. No. He said it was going to put y'all back in chains, bro. Bro, you can't make this up, bro. But Donald Trump is a racist. Joe Biden numerous times have been caught saying racist shit, doing racist shit, passing racist shit, like the 94 crime bill. And people voted for this man. It's crazy, bro. Meanwhile, on the other side, you got Donald Trump, who has been seen in cameos, movies, everything. People, massive rap songs, pictures with everybody black. Doesn't matter what race. He's in pictures with everybody. And you never heard anything negative about Donald Trump, really. I'm not going to say at all, but you haven't really heard like what you hear now and when he ran the first time. It's crazy.
Here you go. Sit down.
After that, I also disavowed David Duke. When we looked at it and looked at the question, I disavowed David Duke. So I disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough.
David Duke.
David Duke is a bad person who I disavowed on numerous occasions.
And because of a corrupt system that exists in Mexico, I voted for a fence. I voted unlike most Democrats, and some of you won't like it, I voted for 700-mile fence.
You see that? I voted for 700 miles of fence. But they was complaining about Trump building a wall. This is why I say it's fake. This stuff that they be talking about is fake. Because if you go back, you see videos like this and a lot more where Democrats literally, you could say bipartisan with how Trump is today on a lot of these issues with immigration and whatnot. Hey, yeah.
And you will not like this. And punish American employers who knowingly violate the law when in fact they hire illegals. But they're the facts. People are driving across that border with tons, hear me, tons of everything from byproducts from methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. And it's all coming up through corrupt Mexico.
In the good old days, law enforcement acted a lot quicker than this.
He put out this tweet saying, as I stated at the press conference on Friday regarding David Duke, I disavow.
I won't say fairly.
Like, bro, how many times has this guy got to say this? And then why do they keep bringing up David Duke? David Duke, David Duke. When it's a fact, not an opinion. It's not my opinion. It's a fact that the KKK supported the Democratic Party and vice versa. I'm talking about back in the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, when the KKK was relevant and they were around, they were supported by the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, most of like the Welfare Act and these bills that Lyndon B. Johnson helped pass, he didn't want to pass. Democrats didn't want to pass. Republicans did. Democrats didn't want to free the slaves. Republicans freed the slaves. Democrats didn't want to free the slaves. They had a whole civil war about it. Hey, just saying.
I have a very strong view relating to the matter to which you spoke last, and that is the hiring of undocumented workers. What did take place was a violation of the United States immigration law. The committee and the public, as we've discussed, has to be assured that you are, without exception, going to be willing to enforce the law. And the immigration law, when did you first hire the unauthorized?
When I put out that I reject KKK and David Duke, nobody picks it up. You know why they don't? Because they don't want to pick it up. Now, I have been asked this question so many times. I have rejected it so many times.
White supremacists are saying, vote. Do you want those votes?
No, I don't want them, and I don't want him to say it. I don't like any group of hate.
Fresh scrutiny comes from his earliest years in the Senate, when he strongly opposed mandatory school busing. It was designed to achieve integration and a more equitable education. What's less known is how he followed the lead of some of the Senate's most fervent segregationists. In a series of never-before-published letters reviewed by CNN, the strength of Biden's opposition to busing comes into sharper focus. On March 25, 1977, Biden wrote, "My bill strikes at the heart of the injustice of court-ordered busing. It prohibits the federal courts from disrupting our educational system." Biden sought and received support from Mississippi Senator James Eastland, a leading symbol of Southern resistance to desegregation. He frequently spoke of blacks as, quote, an inferior race.
And it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me. Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then? No. To coddle?
Nah. His vice president was coming at his shit, boy. She was coming at his shit. She threw a couple lines in there, but
the reputations of segregationists, of people who, if they had their way, I would literally not be standing here as a member of the United States Senate, is, I think, it's misinformed and it's wrong.
Ain't it so...
protest?
I'm so sorry. I just did. Damn it. I just do that. Yo, ain't it so funny, though, how, you know, right after this, you know, Kamala became the vice president? Like, bro, she knew that, you know, what Joe Biden stood for, but he won. He became her vice president. I mean, he won the primary and chose her, or whatever the case may be. But he chose her because she was a black woman, allegedly. But we know she's not black. She's Jamaican. And no Jamaican I know, and I know a few of them, whatever tell you they're African American. So she's Asian American. She became the first Asian American senator, the first Asian American vice president. And then when she got pushed up the ranks to become the first woman black president, that was when she started. Well, she never, if you notice, if you even look, she never really ever said, you know, that she was African American. She let other people say it, and she just didn't, you know, oppose it. Yo, bro, it's so crazy just looking at this stuff.
Of people who, if they had their way, I would literally not be standing here
Biden was
as
a
a member of the United
racist
States
for
Senate.
sure.
Is, I think, it's misinformed and it's wrong.
But she was willing to be.
Did you apologize for that? He's going to have to make that decision. But, you know, let's be very clear that the senators that he is speaking of with such adoration are individuals who made and built their reputation on segregation. The Ku Klux Klan celebrated the election of one of them. So this is a very serious matter.
Hate groups are not for me. But I've said this before. The press hates me to say it. They just don't want to pick it up.
We are a country that stands united.
They want him to say he's a racist and he approves of the KKK and the white supremacists.
In condemning hate and evil in all of its very ugly forms.
Joe is like her uncle who's on a new drug and hasn't got the dosage right.
No, I haven't taken the test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you... and evil. About the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America.
So the question facing Biden is how he reconciles nearly a half century in public life with today's Democratic Party. Of course, Jake, one of his biggest pieces of experience is that experience and long record. That also is one of his biggest challenges.
Even call centers, which rushed overseas in the hundreds of thousands. How many times you get the call? I'd like to talk to you about your...
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking. Oh, gigantic.
The blinders have been taken off. They've all of a sudden seen a hell of a lot clearer. They're seeing, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
Problems that the Democratic Party's having right now with this Joe Biden guy. You guys got to be able to call it out. You can't let this slide because everybody else sees it, and Trump is going to eat him alive. He's going to eat that guy alive. The guy can barely remember what he's talking about while he's talking.
Free from violence, hatred, and fear. We want our country to be a place where every child from every background can grow up free from fear, innocent of hatred. There must be no tolerance for anti-Semitism in America. We must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism or those who spread its venomous creed.
Yeah, man. That was a good one, man. Shout out to K-Von Comedy. Yo, it's just that whole entire video. Like it's not to sit there and say that Trump never said wild shit before. I've seen Trump say wild things, but when we talk about racism, bro, so many people fucked with Trump. Oprah, we talking about, bro, everybody. This dude been on The Fresh Prince and other, shows, cameos, movies. Like everybody fucked with Donald Trump because he was known as the guy that was getting to a bag. You know what I mean? Trump towers and all of that stuff. So it's just, my whole thing is people just disingenuous to come out now, especially people like Oprah, who was best friends with Donald Trump. Like, they, wrote letters and shit to each other type shit. And then she gets on the DNC stage and then makes him seem like he's this bad guy when she was, at one point in time, was telling him that they should run together. Like, bro, you can't make this stuff up. But the whole point of the video today was to point out the hypocrisy of the media, number one. but also that the Democratic Party is kind of racist, bro. I'm just being honest. Joe Biden was a racist. Everybody knew it. They still covered up for him. You know, the funny part is if you had all of these massive clips of like when Donald Trump said that wild shit on the bus about grabbing a girl by the pussy or some shit, right? If you had videos like that, like wild stuff of him saying something racist, it would be everywhere. It would be everywhere. But meanwhile, Joe Biden has said massively racist things. And there's other videos besides the ones we played today, but they won't show it. Because for some reason, for whatever reason, I mean, it's obviously money. These legacy media stations is obviously getting paid a nice amount of money to come to the aid of the Democratic Party, bro. Because outside of that, it doesn't make sense when this information is out there. But when you control the narrative, you control everything. But the thing is, where they fucked up, it is creating mankind was able to create social media, YouTube, all of these great platforms, Rumble, TikTok, Instagram. So we can be our own journalists, put out our own information. A lot of people sift through old videos, pulling up these type of things. And I've yet to see flat out videos of Donald Trump being racist. I ain't see it yet. I just haven't seen it. You know what I mean? I've seen him say wild, like sexual shit, but I haven't seen him say no racist things, you know? And we seen him in pictures with everybody, from rappers to politicians that were black. He supported and gave money to Jesse Jackson. He, long-term funding to HBCUs, the First Step Act. He has done, flew Nelson Mandela after he got out. He's done things for black people. It's not like a charity type of thing, but he's been there for black people. You know what I mean? You've seen him in massive pictures and things like that with black people. Never did he look weird or odd or anything. And even people like Diddy, you know what I'm saying, hung out with Donald Trump. You know what I mean? But, when you get paid and you get a certain amount of money, you change your mind. Hey, there's people who do anything for money, right? But anyway, man, that's the show for today. If you fuck with it, make sure you hit that like button. Also hit that share button. Comment down below if you disagree, agree. It don't matter. Thank everybody for tapping in with me today. Also hit that notification bell so you get notified every time your boy go live. And more important than all of that, hit that subscribe button. Hit it right now. Cost you nothing. Truly appreciate everybody for tapping in today. Until next time, this your boy SL550. This is the Never Gonna Lose Again podcast. I'm out.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
a poor man prayers.
Every man bleeds,
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. Yeah, I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again.